And now, a quick word from our sponsors. And yes, today, that's us. Hi, I'm Kenny Benucci. I am one of the co-founders and the co-host of This Commerce Life. And what Phil and I do is give Canadian food and beverage brands the coaching that I wished a lot of the companies that I had seen in my old days as a buyer had gotten before they had gotten to me in the buying office. So what we try to do is give small brands, small to medium-sized brands, a head start and a way to learn all about costing, margins, the lingo of the land, how to do this, how to talk to a buyer, what to expect from a buyer. We do workshops, we do one-on-one coaching, we make introductions that actually go somewhere. So if you've got a brand in your portfolio that needs to level up, or if you just want someone to be a little bit better off when they hit the buyer, get them to chat with us. Reach out to us at thiscommercelife.com. Ping Phil or myself, Kenny, and let's see if we can help you and get you guys on the right track to success. And now back to your regular scheduled programming. Hey, welcome to This Commerce Life, an unscripted podcast that focuses on the stories behind small and independent Canadian retail and Canadian CPG.
What we try and do is deliver or pull out the story of our guests and give them to you. You know, the good, the bad, the ugly of retail and CPG in Canada. We're filling a need because we think that retail is hard on the best of days, but it's also a wonderful, wonderful place to grow up and make your living.
We also think that the industry, nor the people that inadvertently find themselves in the industry, really understand the industry at all. They don't really understand what goes on behind the scenes.
So listen to us, Phil and Kenny. We'll unravel it for you. We'll give you the story. We'll give you the story behind the story.
Hey,
Right.
how are you?
Okay, how are you?
Good. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little late, but
A little light. Why is that a thing?
better than most days though, but it's still a little on the light side. Not brutally light, but
Sound, volume. All right, how's that?
way better.
I don't get it, but whatever.
I don't understand that either.
I'm past it now. I'm tired of this. But I don't think it's the mic. I think it's actually Windows.
Yeah, maybe.
So I wish Windows would just stop fucking around with my
It'd be so much easier if it just fucking worked.
That is the dream, buddy. That is the dream. But then you could say that about retail too.
Retail's just fucking stupid though.
Retail should just fucking work, and it doesn't fucking work.
It doesn't fucking work. Useless. Fucking useless.
What do you do? What do you do? Yeah, so hopefully, this will be interesting. I'm excited to get Mark on. There he
me
is.
too.
There he is.
You too.
Hey, Mark. You might
Yeah.
be getting set up, but you're on mute in case you didn't know.
His mute's off, I think, now.
Oh, there you are. And then
For some reason you can't see me. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, the volume is coming.
there you are.
Oh, he's in the kitchen. That's why.
You
Hello,
look
guys.
fantastic. Yeah.
I got my party hat on. Maybe I'll go to a
Yeehaw.
different room. I'm going to move around a bit.
Okay.
It's lunch hour here. The team will be coming in early, but
Got it.
we'll keep going. So,
Sounds good.
Thank you for adjusting the time for us. We really appreciate it.
well, thank you for pointing out that it is Easter tomorrow, so it was the right call to do that. So, thank you.
Listen, we forget honestly the number of times that he and I work through holiday, because when you work for yourself, right? Like and then you forget
just a
things,
day.
you know.
It's
7
just-
days a week, and
Yeah. Yeah, you
U.S.
forget
holidays,
things.
Canadian holidays, other people's holidays.
Yeah.
Whatever. Who cares? Holidays, And then after a while, you
Right.
go, "Gosh, I'm tired," right? And then you go, "Oh, I haven't taken a day off," right? And that's why because nobody, the boss is supposed to tell me, except not very good at that.
Plus, our country has different holidays for different people. Like there's days you
Okay, so
like
something it's asking
every
me to join.
Remembrance Day he books stuff for us. Well, we're off in BC.
Yeah.
It's a stat in BC, right? It's just Ontario that you guys don't have a stat that day. It's all that
No,
goofiness.
if we don't have a stat, you don't have a stat.
Clearly,
Sorry.
Yeah,
all good.
yeah,
Yep, that's
Actually,
good.
the sound now is way better than
Yep.
it was.
Yep.
yeah. I don't know why there's a second mark. I don't know what's
That's
happened there.
okay.
So
That's
Just
all
don't
right.
move. The tendency will
don't move.
rabbit
That's
ears.
all
Just
right.
stay still.
Two
Don't move.
marks.
There you go. Ready to
Maybe
go.
we
Hands
maybe
off
we
keyboard.
get double the amount of marks in this.
Yeah, right.
Good or bad, we'll find out, or whatever.
Those are days that we'd all want to, right? Is double us so we could get some shit
Yeah,
done.
exactly.
Yeah,
Man.
nobody else wants that though.
Yeah. Yeah. For the audience, we've got Marc Whitmore on, and we're pretty excited to do this because Marc is the CEO and owner of Dennis Horseradish, and we met at I think it was CHFA,
HFA.
That's right.
right?
Yeah,
I'll introduce
that's
them.
right.
Yeah, and just kind of just like got us right off the get go. It's a pretty interesting story. You've got a pretty cool business. I think you're one of a I mean, I think Marc Whitmore is one of a kind, but I also think that the
His business is
horseradish
one of a
business
kind.
is one of a kind or very close to one of a kind. So we're excited to get you on. I guess what we'd love is if you introduce yourself and then just you start wherever you like to start because it I think you've kind of got a pretty interesting background.
Thanks. Yeah.
And then we'll just let it go
We'll
from
ask
wherever
questions
it
where we
goes.
think we
So
need to, but it's
yeah,
your time.
yeah,
We're dying to hear the
Okay. Well,
story of
thank.
how you started it. Go back a little bit, like how
yeah,
did you get into this mess? Like and all that stuff, because we've heard
yeah.
the
Okay.
story fascinating.
Because everybody wakes up and goes, "I want to own a horseradish farm."
Well,
That's
who
my
doesn't?
dream.
Right.
So
That's
many,
exactly right.
so many
Everybody wants it.
horseradish
Yeah.
farm owners. So
That's
yeah,
what I wake up every day thinking,
yes,
wow,
yeah,
Yeah.
today is the
yeah.
day. I'm going to give competition to Mark.
Well, let me. So I'm going to go back to actually when I was because there's a genesis which goes back even further. So when I was 12, I think
Okay.
I wasn't thinking about horseradish when I was 12, but when I was 12, I was looking to make some money, and my parents said, "Well, why don't you set up your own company?" And I said, "Why would I do that? That's goofy."
Yeah.
And so ignored that advice, and then I got to university and took an entrepreneurship course and thought this is pretty cool, but I didn't have the moxie to go do it, so I went into corporate like everybody else did.
Well,
Because
most people.
that's what my dad
Most
did. My dad
people.
was a corporate guy.
Yeah.
I was a corporate guy, and so
Yeah.
then I went and did corporate for 30 plus years. I was at Deloitte, senior partner there. I said to myself, "Oh yeah, you're kind of an entrepreneur. You're a partner. You have to sell clients and blah blah blah." No, Deloitte's a big corporation, so who am I kidding?
Yeah.
So you roll the tape forward to when I was about 50 or so, and I knew that the clock was running, and I couldn't stay at Deloitte forever. You have to leave at a certain age, and I thought, why wouldn't I finally get around to doing what I've always wanted to do? And so I started a journey in my last few years at Deloitte to figure, okay, so what is it and what would it look like? And you run down a bunch of rat holes, and some work and some don't work. And but there are three things that came kind of clear to me, like why am I doing this? Which is an important thing that everybody talks about the why rather than the what or the how.
Mm.
And for me in that journey, the why was really three things. So one was for my kids. I wanted to do something that I didn't want my kids to have the same experience I did, which is to say, like, why would you want to own your own business? So I wanted to be a bit of a role model to them, and potentially maybe they could step into this, right? And so I'm not going to force them on it. They've got to find their own way to it. But I wanted them to see what it's like and how hard it is, and how much fun it is too. And the second reason I came up with the why was for Canada. So I've been fortunate in my career. I've worked in travel to like 30 plus countries around the world, and some with Deloitte and some of my own, and Canada's a great spot, but we need more people setting up their own company, taking risks, creating value, because Canada, we've become accustomed to a certain lifestyle that needs a lot of wealth to pay for it. We want hospitals, we want defense, we want
All of it.
security, we want blah, blah, blah. Well, that takes money. And so we need people who are building companies and paying taxes and hiring people who pay taxes that we can afford that. And then the last reason was for me. Like I've wanted to do this. I wanted to be an entrepreneur. So finally I did. So we get closer to what actually happened was I had a partner at the time, and he's since left the company, but we did what all typical consultants do. You pull together a pitch deck, and it's got to have this kind of criteria, this industry, this size, this geography, blah, blah, blah. And we went and spoke to every banker, accountant, lawyer, whatever we could find, and we found nothing, absolutely nothing. And I
As
remember when I
in,
was
as in,
like,
you went to them looking for,
Looking
hey,
for
do
business?
you guys have an idea, or is somebody putting up a shingle for sale, that sort of thing,
yep,
and
yeah,
nobody had anything.
nothing,
Nothing.
nothing. And I
Huh.
remember when I started going down this path, somebody said to me, and I didn't quite understand it at first, but they said, if you want to get in the deal flow, then you got to get in the flow.
Yeah,
And it basically was, if you want to find deals, you got to go find where the deals are happening. And they're not going to
absolutely.
happen at Deloitte. They're not going to
No,
happen talking to lawyers or
no.
bankers or
Those
accountants.
are ultra safe. Everybody wants them. Going to be big
Yeah.
dollars.
Yeah. So they're not. So
No.
and so funny enough, I found Dennis's, and I mean, people always ask. It's one of the first questions people ask, like, how the heck did you end up from Deloitte to owning a horseradish business? And it's like, I wish I had a funnier answer, but I don't. And so the truth is, my sister-in-law is a real estate agent, and she knew I was looking for a business. So at least I know I'm starting to get into the flow, like talking to people who might see stuff. And she
Right.
saw this, but Dennis is on for sale on MLS.ca.
Oh, okay.
So the previous owners were selling it like a house, like a
Right.
cottage.
Right.
And that's how the story started. So
Huh.
Dennis's is a 65-year-old company, uh, generally based in this area. It was started by a dentist. There was a dentist, and I'll tell you a funny story about Dennis later on. But and it had been sold to the Hanses, and the Hanses did a great job building it. And then it was sold to the Riders, and the Riders are great entrepreneurs themselves, but this wasn't for them. So then they put it up for sale. And then by the time we got to it, the bases basically hadn't been running for a year.
Right.
So what we got was equipment, recipes, and a brand name, and that was it. We thought we were
So
getting a
like
customer
you
list.
weren't buying the real estate. You were buying just the actual business.
Not even really the business. Like we got assets, right? Like we thought
Okay.
we were getting a customer. We thought we were getting a customer list. We were getting a list of customers who used to buy. So there wasn't a
Okay.
single
Oh
Because there
customer
was
dear.
a
that came into the
downtime
business.
there. Okay.
Yeah, no suppliers, no distributors, no customers,
So
no
this is
building.
you're buying some goodwill, but that's goodwill that's
That was
not
it.
up to date goodwill. It's kind of I mean it's
Wow.
still there. People thinking, "Oh my God, thank God you're back,"
No,
or others
I
thinking,
think you
"Well,
bought a locker, like the, in
Yeah,
those auction.
I'm trying to make them feel good about the story here, Phil. I'm trying to
yeah.
Let's
let them
That's a
hope.
feel
that's
it.
a
Yeah.
pretty good analogy. We got a locker,
Yeah, you got a
and
locker and it
the
had
previous
stuff in
owner
it.
was the previous owner was gracious. He said, "Look, you can stay in my barn for a year," because that's what he was running out of
Right.
his barn. But he said, like, Mark, I need the barn back, so you got to go find a building. And we bought this in April of 2020, which
So
all of
like
you will
right at the
remember,
beginning. Well,
Amazing.
we're
right
already
at the
shut down for a
right
couple
at the
Yeah.
weeks.
start of COVID, right?
Right.
And
Okay.
so you can imagine, like, all of a sudden now we're trying to navigate COVID, trying to learn about manufacturing, got to try to find a building, got to renovate a building.
Yeah,
Oh,
nobody's outside talking to each other.
there's no PVC pipe. Oh, there's no lumber. Oh,
Nothing.
there's no like
Wow.
Yeah.
so we bought a building, we renovated it, and this is where there was a little bit of brand, because we finally started talking to people who used to buy it, and they were like, "Oh yeah, I remember you guys. Yeah, okay, I'll carry it again."
Right.
So the first 50 to 100 stores were easy.
So there was some goodwill then there. There
Yeah,
was
there's
something
some.
there.
There's
Okay,
some.
well that's
But
okay.
after that, it's all hard slogging
Right.
after that. So that's when and just to kind of wrap up the COVID story, it's, you guys remember with COVID, that people were whinging about, their cars were late because we couldn't find chips.
Right.
And I'm not a car manufacturer, but I got to assume there's like 15,000 parts in a car, easily
Sure.
15,000 parts,
Yeah.
right? So in horseradish, it's not that complicated. We have 9 parts. We have a jar, we have a lid, we have a label, we have root, we have vinegar, salt, blah, blah, blah. It's like 9 or 10. It's
Yeah.
not that complicated.
Yeah.
During COVID, we were shorted on 9 out of 10
Yeah.
ingredients.
Glass, lids, label, all the key stuff,
Everything.
package.
Everything. The only thing we weren't shorted on was horseradish root because we were growing it.
Right.
Other than that, everything else was shorted. So you think of a car manufacturer, they must have been shorted like 14,500 parts. Like,
Yeah.
Oh, there
how
was.
could
That's why we were
anybody make
paying so much
anything
for
during
cars.
COVID?
Wow.
Yeah. So
Wow.
anyway, so
Wow.
that's the history of it. And so, you go back to my list of did I check the box? So this is something that my kids could take on in a bunch of
Right.
years' time. So they're going to see a manufacturing business. They're actually involved in the business, and we'll talk a little bit that later on. They've all had
Mhm.
summer jobs here, but they're also now on the advisory board. This is super important for Canada. Like when I bought this thing 6 years ago, we didn't have the mess that we're kind of in now. And boy, it's super important, right? Because I'm small. I'm really, really tiny. But what I'm having to do is exactly what Canada has to do, which is
Absolutely.
stop talking about the US,
Yeah.
get on
Pivot.
a plane and go to Asia
Right.
or Europe.
There's
And
200
that's what
plus other countries we could trade with, eh?
right. Our biggest customer actually today is Korea.
That's fantastic. Well, I
Amazing.
guess that makes sense, actually. Okay.
That does.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
so
makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
that's actually what we're doing right this moment. The team is filling a sea container full of jars
Right.
for a customer in Korea. They're our biggest customer. I just came back from a 2-week trip to Korea and Japan. Met with my customer, and then I went to the Food X show in Tokyo.
Mhm.
And Asia, all of Indo-Pacific could be huge for us. We have a big opportunity in Australia, big opportunities, more opportunities in Korea, more opportunities in
Yeah.
Japan. Got people in Taiwan and China looking at us. So it's kind of funny. Like you hear people weigh in on the relationship with the U.S. and don't get me wrong, like we have a
We still
portion of
need
our
them. They're
business
right.
that goes to
They're
the
a big
U.S.
market, eh? And the
They're a big
proximity,
market,
it's there. So you can't
but
get away from it.
But it's not the
but
end of the world.
It's always a but. Because
Yeah.
you wouldn't have to be the only
well,
It's
one
not the end of the
here's the
world.
but.
Yeah.
Being geographically close to a market does not mean it's easy.
No.
So we in fact have shut down all future business with the U.S. I fired all of our U.S. customers except for 2 because we were actually having a hard time getting stuff across the border.
Yeah.
Even though we're USMCA compliant, we're tariff free. What was happening is FedEx and DHL and UPS were holding every shipment at the border because of the change in tariffs as of August 29th. And so everything was getting returned to us.
For sure.
So I just called our customers and said, sorry, like
It's
I
too
can't
hard.
get stuff there.
It's too hard.
Right.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, people say like we can't replace that with Asia. And like in January, I shipped 3,200 cases to Korea,
Wow.
no issues.
So you don't
Wow.
And
can't
we're
do it with
about to do
Asia.
that
You can do it
again
with
this
Korea
month.
though, right? But you can't do Asia. You know what I mean? Like, come on,
Yeah.
guys.
But so,
Work it
so
out.
it's interesting. People weigh in and talk about it.
Well,
It's like,
sure.
well, have you actually shipped to the US? Have you actually shipped to Asia? Have you been to Asia?
Have they
So
shipped
like,
outside of the province? You know how
how can
complicated
you,
it is to get stuff across our country. Never mind.
eh,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like they
So,
don't get it.
yeah. So
Mark, let me ask you
it's
something.
interesting. It's interesting to be in it. Like, so again, I go back to like my why. So I'm doing it for my kids, which is great. Doing this is important for Canada, which is great. And I'm having fun. So it's working out so
But you
far,
came from a
but it's hard work.
a very structured world. You came from a company that I mean, Deloitte does books, Deloitte does consult, Deloitte does M&A. Like
Yep.
they'll do shit. So you come from that world, and you go out and buy a company that has been down for a while. I'm assuming you didn't know shit about horseradish
Okay. So we're allowed to swear.
outside of
So
eating
here,
it.
Oh yeah, no. You do you. You're all good here. Yeah.
so what I say to people is, after 33 years of making shit up at Deloitte, now I have to make shit.
Yeah.
And fuck, it's hard. It's hard. Right? So,
That's the
Deloitte, it
part
was like,
I'm trying to understand is that
Yeah.
you come from a very you come from the world
yeah,
of the people you were talking to. Hey, is there businesses out there? Oh no, there's nothing. It's all high risk because they're not gonna be the innovators. They're not the ones who are gonna change the planet. They'll just
yeah.
keep the status quo going because that's what they do. And then you bust out, you go buy a place that's been down for a year. The goodwill is clearly was still there because the product was obviously good and had some heritage or something to it. People did pick it up again, but it doesn't seem to like I can't find the brain space that you go from such a tight box in a world where you would have had to probably really want to make sure things fit to like, buddy, what are you doing? And then you end up being
Well,
the only guy left in the country, I think, if we're not mistaken. It's
well,
not like even,
we
it's
are the
not like
only
you
one
got,
left. Yeah.
hey, we can look at 12 other guys in this space and see how they're doing.
Yeah, but it's so part of it is and you guys have been down this too. Like you sometimes you have to kiss a lot of frogs to find the prince, right? And so yeah, this wasn't my when I left Deloitte, I actually had another venture that didn't work out, right? So I thought I was going to get into hops. That was the first thing I did. Is
Okay.
I set up the Great Canadian Hops Company. Craft beer was
Beer.
doing this,
Booming.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
people were all gung ho on Canadian hops,
Yeah.
and I thought, well, we can maybe export that, and it's a
Yeah.
farming business, and it's ag, and blah blah blah, and it was a beautiful idea and a
Right.
really shitty business. So I had to shut it down. And in the meantime, this came available, and it was just kind of like, oh, well, let's see how it goes. And I would say the jury's still out. I mean, we're up and running. We're probably in 1,000 stores. We're in 4 countries.
That's awesome.
We're growing 25 points. So that's all good. But we're still not we're still not out of the woods yet, right? Like
Right.
it's like all entrepreneurs, like how much money am I making right now? Zero, right? And you're having to pour it all back into the company. So get
Yeah.
used to it, right? But
Yeah.
at least now it's a going concern, and
Right.
I can see where this can pan out. But yeah, you're right.
Right.
It was it a logical leap from Deloitte? Not necessarily. The only thing I'd say is at Deloitte is that the last role I had was I was responsible for what was called Deloitte Private. So it's the part of Deloitte that serves private businesses, family businesses, private equity, high net worth
Okay.
individuals. So there's a part that there it does serve the Royal Bank and
Okay.
TELUS and Bell
Yeah.
Canada
Yeah.
and blah blah blah. But there's also a part that
So
serves
you could
serves
see I always call it the
so
fun side, the less, the side that
yeah,
actually,
yeah.
I always hate to be
Now
such a
Yeah.
think about, but the side that actually makes a difference in the country. Because most people in this country work for small business. That is sort of the backbone, whether it's small farms, small produce,
yeah,
retail, whatever. It is small business cafes that really keep this machine going. It's not the
yeah.
Teluses, et cetera, who
No.
hire a lot of people, but we're talking millions of people in small businesses.
Yeah, so
Millions.
I was
That's
fortunate in my
interesting.
role that I ran Deloitte Private globally as well as here in Canada.
Oh
So I
wow.
got
Okay.
to
So
go
you
visit
got a
Wow.
look.
Deloitte Private
Okay.
in Japan, in Australia, in Netherlands, in
Okay.
Mm.
Germany, and whatever.
Hmm.
And two interesting facts that you'll have everywhere in the world, plus or minus 50%, 50 to 60% of the GDP is driven by private businesses.
Always. Yeah.
So it's more than the majority. So people
Yeah.
don't realize how important
Yeah.
private businesses are. The second thing, which is pretty funny and universal, and I won't get it right. So you hear in Canada the concept of third generation always blows it, right?
Yeah.
Every country in the world has a saying for it, right? So for example, I think in Italian it was um, short sleeves to long sleeves to no sleeves.
Yeah, I can see the Italian saying something like that.
Yeah. So basically
It
the third
sounds
Okay.
much nicer
generation
in
has lost it
Italian,
all,
but like,
right?
yeah.
And
Yeah.
then the
Yeah.
Chinese, it was like on the ground to the stars, then back in the dirt again, or something like that. But everybody had a saying, and it was
Yeah.
sort of. But basically, the third generation messes it up. Is
Yeah.
what it
Yeah.
comes down to, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, so that role at Deloitte sort of opened my eyes to like. Now we were serving big private companies, right? We weren't
Yeah.
serving small stuff. It was kind of like, why don't I give this a shot? This is the way to go. So it was fun. It was a fun
That's pretty
part, and
cool.
the transition to this has been great. Just because I get to meet folks like yourself and tell the
All
story
right.
and
This is
hear your
super
story as
cool.
well too, right? So
Well, hopefully it inspires other people to do the same. Like, I mean, I know we get knocked as a country, that we don't take risks and chances, and I think that's bullshit. I think we take a lot.
Agreed.
I don't think we get credit for a lot of the stuff we do. Having said that, we also do get a little complacent. And while the states, and this is a Canadian, the states is making, we can buy it, it's not a big deal, but not realizing that definitively we need to participate more to grow,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But for you, so
I
you go
think,
buy a horseradish place,
yeah.
right? So, like, in all honesty, did you know anything about what
Yeah.
you're doing? Like, is there like, okay,
Zero.
so the appeal was like, was it like, oh shit, I know Dennis's, that sign's been there for 15,000 years, and like, like, you got to walk me through this one because I'm trying to figure out the hell why you bought something that wasn't sort of a lie,
Yeah.
and in a
Well,
category there's only you left.
yeah. So what it was, so what attracted us to it? So I I'm a big believer in Canada has to export. We have to export.
Yes,
We can't
Agree.
just
Agree.
sell
and
stuff
finished
to each
goods,
other,
not just raw
right?
material.
Yeah, we got to
Yeah, we
we
need to
got to
make
make
our own
stuff.
stuff.
Finished
Yeah.
goods.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to make
Correct.
stuff and
Correct.
sell stuff, and it's got to be stuff that we can sell internationally. So I went, so then I go, so that's kind of big picture. Then I go, what can Canada be famous for, right? And like, no disrespect to my automotive friends, but in my mind, how it's a hard sell to me that Canada should be famous for autos. Like, we didn't invent the car,
No, they're
right?
not even our companies.
We're not famous for being car designers. We're not
No,
famous for buying like 10 cars per family.
no, we
Like
make paper parts.
the only thing we've got is that we happened for a period of time live beside like the biggest auto market in the world,
That's it.
and our dollar was discounted 20 to 30 points. So
Right,
that's why we did automotive.
Yeah.
right.
And I go, the future of that is going to be tough. Whereas I contrasted that with food and egg. And I
I love
said,
that.
we actually can be world class in
Yes, we
food and
can.
egg, right? Yeah, because the Made in Canada brand is you can't compete with that. So China China can make auto parts, China can make solar panels, China can make whatever. China cannot make Canadian food.
No,
Agree.
And
Agree.
so there's places in the world where they will go out of their way to buy Canadian
right.
food because it's safe because of the brand. So that's where I looked at Dennis's and went, okay, so it's a little bit broken, so I'm getting it at a good price. There's some brand equity there.
Right.
It's something we can export. It's in a segment, an industry that I care about, food and ag. I went, let's give it a shot.
I think
And
that's super cool, man.
yeah, now we are still learning. Now, one of the downsides of it is, it's not like the corn industry where there are 500 colleges and universities in North America that are studying corn
Right.
and trying to figure out how do we go from 312.4 bushels per acre to 312.5, because it matters. Corn
Yeah.
matters.
Yeah.
Nobody's studying horseradish.
No.
Nobody. So there's no horseradish equipment manufacturers. There's no
Mm.
university studying it. So when people say, "How do you make it hot?" It's like, I don't know.
Mother
And
Nature
so we've
takes care
been
of that for us.
Well, it's interesting. It's a hard product to keep hot. So when it comes out of the ground, it's hot. The trick is, how do you keep it hot in a retail environment for 6 months? That's the
Oh,
challenge.
okay.
And so it's not straightforward. If you so we've had problems. I'll admit to it. When we started making the product, it was hot initially, but we kept getting complaints about 4 months later, 5 months later, it's not hot. What's going on? And so we've tried probably 15 different things.
I didn't know it could
Changing the
lose
salt.
the hot.
I didn't know it did. I thought it was just what it was. I didn't realize. So the
No, 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 no.
processing takes something away or something happens.
Yeah. I mean, you go back to those 10 variables, and then there's manufacturing variables, right? And so we've tried probably 15 different things, and we think we've come across what's good.
Right.
It's been better the last couple of years. And the trick has been, we had to change the recipe, so we had to put in canola oil. Oil's helped,
Okay.
and also too is education. So keep it cool to keep it hot.
That makes me
So
so
if you
frigid.
can,
Okay.
it should be in the fridge, or even at the store. If it could be in the cooler, or if we sell 10 cases to our store, put two on the
Okay.
shelves, keep eight in the refrigerator.
Or just put it in
Don't put them all
produce. Just forget the shelf.
right.
Put us in produce or put us
Yeah,
in meat. Put
Yeah.
us
in the
somewhere where there's
deli,
refrigeration.
right? Yeah,
Right.
and
Okay.
so part of it is it's a balance too, because people say, well, why don't you just insist on it? It's like, well, if you insist on it, there's nobody's going to buy, or very few people buy. I'd be out of business.
No, I
So,
think you just
so
educate your retailers as best you can, and
yeah,
they'll
and that's what we're
slowly
doing.
move it there without us telling it has to be there,
Yeah, because on
right?
the other hand, it's shelf stable, so there is an advantage to that. Because the
100%.
reality is that the
100%.
Canadian retail environment,
Yeah.
refrigeration space is expensive and
Yep.
very rare. They
Yeah.
keep it for yogurt, for meats, for
Well, the guys who
cheeses.
pay.
Yeah,
Dude,
well, it's not so much the guys to pay. Like even in a small butcher shop, they just don't have the
Yeah.
real estate for it. They just don't have the room
No.
for it.
But they
listen,
But they
allocate a
got a
lot of
cook.
real estate to it for other reasons too. And I think that's what always drives me crazy is they could free up doors for interesting things, but
Yeah,
interesting
yeah.
things don't necessarily
so
pay the lights.
so Mark just did
Yeah.
like so that is a pro tip, and that's something that if you're an entrepreneur and you're listening to this, he just said what we've been saying all along, but now you've heard it from an entrepreneur, not two old guys who talk about retail, right?
Yeah.
Is like freezer space is ridiculously
It's finite.
expensive. We
It's
seem
super
to
finite.
at every turn we find somebody new who has invented something that they would like to put in a freezer, and they're surprised at how much harder it is to
Oh,
do.
They're
So,
surprised why they
so
can't get
if you're
Green
listening to
Giant.
this, he just gave you a
He
great
told you
public
what?
service announcement. Rewind, like hit that back button on Spotify a
Yeah.
couple of times. Go back about
yeah.
20 seconds, listen to just what Mark said again, and put it on loop a couple of
We
times.
laugh, Mark, because everybody
Yeah,
wants to get Green Giant space or ice cream or
yeah,
Dr. Utker. And you're thinking, guys, these guys pay big money to be there. You're not that
Yeah.
real estate. If you're ambient, wing stacks, ends, aisles, front checkouts,
yeah.
you got
Lots of places to go.
as soon as you get a
Yeah,
plug involved, man,
goodness,
you've boxed in. And
goodness.
there's nothing wrong with that. We need
The,
refrigerated frozen, 18. But my
the
money, yeah.
the other thing that I've learned in this journey,
Mhm.
and it's hard because you go to a lot of trade shows and you see a lot of cool products. I mean, my
Hmm.
product is frankly an old product. Like it's been around for 500 years. There's nothing sexy about horseradish, right? Like it's not, you know, uh, you know,
We
protein
were excited to
infused,
see you.
vegan, it's like there's none of that stuff, right? But when you hear about some of the cool products that people are introducing, what a lot of entrepreneurs forget, and we've made this mistake too, is that grocery stores are full.
Yeah.
They
Full,
don't
full.
need another horseradish. So if you
Nope.
if you want to get a new product in there, like we try to get cranberry horseradish in, we try to get maple horseradish in, and the reality is, okay, so what is Savon going to take out of the store
Exactly.
to, to put in there, and
Exactly.
it better sell better than what was there before.
And quickly.
And people go like, but I've got a better horseradish. It's cranberry. Like, oh, it tastes so good. Well, it doesn't matter.
No.
Is
Yeah,
it going to sell?
yeah,
No,
yeah,
get
Right.
it into food
So
service first, and if
yeah.
every restaurant uses it and the public likes it, then put it in.
Then maybe.
yeah,
No,
But
then
otherwise,
maybe.
yeah,
yeah,
Then maybe.
yeah,
Not.
yeah.
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 But
For
otherwise,
Wow.
us, and for us, actually, food service
Interesting.
is the final frontier. We started in retail. We I guess I'm fortunate that I'm not in a super competitive space. So we've
right.
actually exited competitive space. So we used to make a mustard product, for example,
That's got a
and
lot
you
of
walk into any
players.
store and there's 50 mustards, and
That's a
like
lot of
I said to
players.
myself, like how do I stand out? I said I
No,
can't. So we exited our mustard product, and
Okay.
and, and people try to talk us into going into barbecue sauces or hot sauces, and it's
same
like, oh my
problem.
gosh,
Same
only
thing.
them.
Same thing.
So so we got lucky in that we have a space that's not too competitive, and so we started in retail because
Yeah,
there's not a lot of options out there, and then we got into industrial and bulk.
makes
So we
sense.
provide ground horseradish to other people who put it
Yeah,
into their sauces, and then just last week we're now entering food service. We looked at food service like 4 or 5 years ago. The issue was we're a small manufacturer. We're not super cost effective. So,
yeah.
and food service doesn't care about brand or name at all. All they
No,
want is just a cheap product.
right.
So that's why we decided to stay away from food service until now. But the environment has changed and people want to hear about our story, the Canadian story, the
Totally.
100% Canadian story. And so in certain places, we're going to be successful in food
Right.
service, and that's what we're doing. Just give me a second. You guys are
Yeah.
good there. So I'm just going to let the team have their lunch, and I'm
Yeah,
You
just
yeah,
going
got
yeah,
to
it.
yeah,
move.
yeah.
Yeah, you got it.
We
You
good?
got
Talk
it.
Yeah.
and walk, talk and
Yeah.
walk.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Mark, one thing that you had told Phil,
So
like
interesting.
you're not in a you're in a competitive space in that as another condiment or whatever you want to call this, you're fighting for that shelf space. But in
Yeah.
terms of players within horseradish, I think you told Phil and I there's only a couple of you left, if not only you left.
Well, yeah. So yeah, it's been interesting. So you guys can see me and hear me still.
Yep. Yeah.
So horseradish, like it's a really, really small segment, right? And in in Canada, there's growers and grinders, right? So
Right.
there's people who grow horseradish root, and there's people that grind it. And in North America, there'd probably be 12 of us, 15 of us, not that many left, or
Really?
grinders. And
Okay.
in
Okay.
that time frame, so in 6 years,
Yeah.
there's been 7 transactions in the horseradish segment. Seven. So
Consolidated.
consolidation, retirements, people packing in. So in Canada, when I bought the business, there were 2 farms,
Right.
and I knew both of them through I know the farming community. You can close the door, Tracy. That's great. Um, one had a family issue, and the second one was located in downtown Ancaster, and he was just waiting to get bought out because the
Right.
farm had been sort of bought up over time. And so I went and started up a third farm, and 2 years ago, the first farm shut down. This year, the second farm shut down. So we're down to one farm, which is
But is that
tied
just
to us.
Ontario or like a region? Or are you
No,
talking?
Canada, Canada.
Canada.
So
So one
one
farm
Wow.
left that grows
farm
horseradish.
makes the
One
horse
farm,
makes one.
one.
Are you
And
sure? That
so,
sounds a little odd.
well, it is and it isn't. It's a again, it's not a big
It's
product like
mustard.
asparagus,
Yeah. Okay.
like
Fair
mustard
enough.
or
Yeah.
asparagus. Like there's lots of guys growing asparagus because we eat a lot of asparagus and they can
Yeah.
export asparagus. Horseradish, it's still a pretty small segment, and it's not super hard to grow, but like our farmer grows 50 acres and that's it. That's all they need to grow for us.
Okay.
So the issue is that from a
Huh.
competitive point of view, from a grinding perspective,
Yeah.
my competitors now are like, what do you mean there's no more farms left in Canada? And so my competitors now are not going to be able to get Canadian root. Their only option is to go to the US and import root, and that's not an easy thing to do. So that shoe just dropped like a month ago, 2 months ago. And
So
now we're going to
you're
wait to,
it.
well, there's still 3 of us as grinders in the market, but there's only one who has access to Canadian root, and that's me.
Yeah, but that's so like in terms of
So that's
a
it.
pure
That's you.
Canadian product,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, we're the only one that can say 100% Canadian root, 100% Canadian owned,
100% packed and
100% Canadian
processed in
made.
Canada.
Yeah, so
Wow.
we're the last one left who can say that, and so that's that. So sometimes you're good and sometimes you're lucky, and this time we were lucky that this whole push for Canadian
Right.
products has
Right.
worked in our favor
Right.
because we're the only one that can tell that story, and that's how we actually got into Loblaws and to Sabon is they jettisoned the American products that they were
Right.
bringing in or American owned products that they were
Right.
bringing in, and they carry a Canadian product, and people have been receptive to it. It helps our product is good, so that's great. But it's not. Again, you go back to the say like the energy bar space, and people are really trying to differentiate on protein and vegan
Yep.
and
Yep.
and all sorts of different. And it's just like horseradish is horseradish. It's not that complicated. But when you don't have a lot of competitors, it changes the how you kind of look at things, right?
Well, it
So
changes even the story though. Like now so now we're both because Phil and I are both in the space too. Then you're thinking, listen, the Canadian label on food worldwide is regarded generally speaking pretty high.
Yep.
Like I think
yeah,
people do trust the fact that we have rules and regs. Yeah, we make mistakes like everybody, but as a country overall, like our food is pretty damn safe,
Yeah. It's
yeah.
pretty
right?
trusted.
Just hang on for a
So
second, guys. I got to get my power cord so I don't
Yep.
yeah,
time
do your
out on you
thing.
Yeah.
guys. But
Yeah.
no, you're right. And I posted an article recently on LinkedIn because everybody, sorry, everybody loves to kick regulators and regulations. Um, but actually in the food space, it's important, right?
Absolutely.
Like we have if there was an incident here in Ontario, unfortunately, where Listeria, one of the
Yeah.
a plant-based company,
Yeah.
Yeah.
they were making soy milk or something like that,
Yeah.
and they had a listeria breakout, and unfortunately, it killed 2 or 3 people and made many, many, many sick. That is bad for the industry,
It
right?
is.
And it
Absolutely.
turns out
Yeah.
they weren't following their SOPs, and it's just bad. So when you're a Canadian manufacturer, sorry guys, I'm trying to plug my Darn.
Well, do your
No,
thing.
no, no. You do you. You're in good shape
Yeah,
here. Yeah.
yeah. Um, there we go. I can fix
Yeah,
it.
it's funny because we talked to sprout growers last year, Kenny. I think it was last
Last year, year
spring actually.
before, maybe year
It
before.
might be the year before, but we were talking about how it had taken them, you know, over 10, 15 years to kick, an
And they
E.
still haven't
coli.
shaken it completely.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
bean sprouts like 15 years ago, right? Because of E.
yeah,
coli, couldn't have it. If you went out for Vietnamese food, they had no more bean sprouts. Nobody could buy it, but it was so long ago, and they were talking about how like one incident has kind of
yeah.
reshaped that industry, right? Because they can't kick it, they can't bring it back, right? So,
Yeah, it's tough.
um,
Yeah, trust
yeah,
as you say, it takes
yeah,
years to
yeah,
build and takes seconds to blow it, right? And so I'm grateful for the work that folks like Canadian Food Inspection Agency, the work that they do. They have very
yeah,
few resources,
yeah,
and we happen to be SQF certified as well too. That's a process that we pay for and invest in, but it's something we strongly believe in, right? Because
No, I think it's
I'm
important.
fortunate with my business. The risk in our business is quite low because
yeah,
Right,
we're a vinegar-based product. pH is
right,
low. We have our stuff tested, but nothing lives in this
right,
environment. Like you can't.
right,
They even actually take a jar at the lab and they put in E. coli, they put in Listeria, they put in Salmonella, and it just dies. Right, nothing
right,
lives. So I'm fortunate that I'm not a meat product or
right,
a milk product or an egg product. Like
right.
boy, those guys have
But then
pretty
we're
tough.
also fortunate to the flip side, like you said, the fortunate side is that I know, like, we're all business people, and I don't like to be overregulated with bullshit things.
Yeah,
But process and food and an ingestible kind of important. I don't really feel like being in the
yeah.
hospital or on the can all day because we've got issues or dead.
Yeah,
You know
exactly.
what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Like
So
so,
it's a balance. It's a balance,
sure,
and you have to.
100%.
And I have found too with regulations and because I talk to other entrepreneurs, especially folks in the food industry. But I had somebody ask me the other day, how are you managing traceability? Because that's an important aspect of
mm,
in the food. And it comes down to you have to know the regs, but you also have to know your business, and you've got to be in business. You got to make money, so you
Yeah,
can't hire. I couldn't afford to hire consultants. I couldn't afford to hire a
right.
team to do it. So you put in
Time and
a
effort.
system or a process which is right sized for you and
yeah,
addresses the risks that you
Yep.
have. But it comes down to you've got to know your business and you've got to be able to demonstrate to the auditor that it works. But if you go and hire somebody to do it or outsource it to a consultant, you really don't know what you're doing and you won't really know how you're managing your risks. So
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
No,
That
no,
makes sense.
100%.
You don't sound like a Deloitte guy anymore, Mark
No, you definitely don't sound like
Whitmore.
a Deloitte guy anymore.
You
You
sound like a
yeah,
changed.
no,
guy
it's
who's growing shit and grinding shit.
Yeah.
Like
You
that
yeah,
changed.
is,
yeah,
You're not gonna have
exactly.
any friends
Yeah,
left in that industry. You're
yeah.
different now.
So here's the plan for the next
yeah,
um 5 years. So
yeah,
I got sort of a 5 year time horizon. So
yeah.
we're breaking even, which is great. So we're not having to pour money into the business now. So
Right.
that's kind of nice. If you go back to my whys, one of the whys is about my kids. And so one of the things I learned from I knew Larry Rosen, Rosen of Harry Rosen, and
Yep.
I knew Larry from business back when I was Deloitte. And Larry always used to have a great saying for his kids, which is basically you got to go to school for 5 years, you got to work for somebody else for 5 years, and then we'll talk about whether you come into the business. And so that's what I've done with my kids. I have three kids, they're in their mid 20s, and they've all finished the university. So they've done their 5 years at
Right.
university. And now they're in the middle of working for somebody else for 5 years. And so I'm in sort of a 5 year journey to get this business to a certain size
Right.
to then and bring the kids along, drag the kids along that journey so that in 5 years time, one of them might say, and I think it's
Right.
about 50-50, might say, you know what, I've seen enough, I think I might be interested.
Right.
So what we just recently did in January is we set up an advisory board, and on the board are my three kids,
Hmm.
one of my former partners, and then we're looking for one or two others eventually down the road to join the board, people with
Hmm.
more food and grocery experience.
That's awesome, man.
But the idea there is that in a structured way, my kids get to see the business. So rather than, they're all going to be home for Easter this weekend. There'll be stories over dinner. We'll talk like that. That's not structured. They just kind of hear little tidbits
Yeah,
here and
yeah.
there.
Well, and they hear
But
what
at
they
the
want to
advice,
hear, right? So they hear the amazing parts. They don't necessarily
yeah,
hear, oh
Or
yeah,
they only hear
right,
the
yeah,
not amazing parts and
yeah,
that
yeah,
talks
yeah.
us the
Well,
amazing.
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
whatever. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so the advisory board meeting is structured like it's a half day meeting for almost a full day meeting every twice a year. We take minutes, we have a standard agenda, there's pre-reads and usually there's one meaty topic that goes into each one and so the we've had one, so it's data point of one, but it was quite successful and now we have our next one coming up in June. But the
Okay,
kids through that now are going to see the business and what I'm hoping will happen is one of them will say, okay, I've seen enough. I understand why we lost that customer. I understand why that machine broke. I
mm-hmm.
understand why we had to,
Right.
exit that market. And they'll go, I'm still not afraid. I think this could be pretty
Mm-hmm.
interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And my job is to get it big enough because these it's tough for kids today. And
100%.
for them at that stage in their life to say, I'm going to go and be part of a startup, it's pretty hard to do. So I need this business needs to be big enough that they could step in and be either the CEO or the COO or the VP of sales or VP
Right.
of finance or whatever, and there's enough money coming out of the business that they can say to their partner, you know what, I'm going to jump
I'm
in
gonna
with
take a
dad
risk and do this. Yeah,
and
Right.
we're not going backwards. I don't have to
yeah.
get paid 20 grand a year and trying because they all happen to live in Toronto right now and they may stay there, but you can't get by on 20 grand a year in Toronto, right? It's just or
No,
Vancouver or wherever.
you
It's
could
just
put
too
a
much of a
one
cut.
in front of that 20, and you'd still be hard pressed to get by on that
Yeah,
number.
yeah.
Definitely,
So
Yeah,
definitely in my
so
city.
that's so that's what the goal is that we're going to focus on horseradish. We're not going to go into other products. So for us it's dominating Canada is what we have to do, and I believe we need to get into probably about 5 or 6 global markets. So that's
mm-hmm.
why I went to FoodX
Yeah,
Japan this year.
yeah,
We're in Korea. I think Japan's a possibility. I think
yeah.
Australia's a possibility. And then probably in a couple years' time, I was originally thinking next year, but I need a little more time. We'll look at Europe. So I think UK could be a market for us. Maybe the Netherlands, Germany, Denmark, the
Yeah,
Nordics. There may be
yeah, yeah,
possibilities
yeah,
too. So,
I think you
yeah,
but I
got
think
tons of
it will probably
possibility. I think.
eventually be like 60% Canada,
Yeah.
40% global. And
Yeah.
you know what? Like a lot of other Canadian companies, we're waking up to what was a really bad idea. Like if you'd come to me 2 years ago and said, "Hey, Mark, where's your business going to be?" I would have said, "It better be all in the U.S.
yeah.
It better be 60, 70,
100%.
80% in the U.S." And
100%.
man, was that ever a bad idea?
Yep.
That was stupid of me. So I got lucky, right? I
Yep.
only I only had 11% of my business in the U.S. when this whole thing kind of blew up, and it was a wake up call to me. Like you need to be in like 5 or 6 markets because you don't know what's going to happen next. Like, we have a great relationship with Korea today, but there could be a kerfuffle with Korea or with the submarines, and we could be shut out.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
you better not be long in any market, right?
No.
Korea, US, Japan,
Yep.
Canada. Like, what happens if Canada goes sideways for a while, right? So that's one of the things I learned from COVID as well too is you can't be long in anything, right? You
No.
got to have multiple suppliers, you got to have
Yep.
multiple customers, you got to have multiple
Yep.
Yeah.
segments.
Balance, balance, balance,
I
balance.
think
Yeah.
even the segments
Yeah.
with your own country, and that's what we try to tell people is like, listen, I come from retail, right? But when people come to me and say, "Oh, I'm
Yeah.
going to do something, I'm going to go into retail," my first thing is I hate to do this all the is why. Like if
Yeah.
that can't be your whole plan, like I hope there's a food service play in there. Maybe there's an online
Yeah.
play in
Exactly.
there.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a
Yeah.
food farmers market play in there. But if
Yeah.
you're going to tell me you're just going
Yeah.
to make your whole world on Loblaws and Sobeys, you can do it. You can do it,
Yeah.
but it's like playing with the states or any
Yeah.
one place, like you just said, is you've got to
Yeah.
have you need revenue streams and a few buckets just in case something hiccups.
That's a really important point, and I hope that the folks that are listening in, really think that through because that's really important. Because again, you go back to COVID and you look at, there's two that kind of stuck out for me. One was, anybody that was in the food industry that was focused only on food service, man, it was tough
It's tough,
because restaurants were shut down
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and you couldn't sell. The
right?
other one was craft brewers, and if they were only selling them in certain restaurants and pubs, again, they got hammered too, right?
Yeah.
So, and if you were like in an industrial mall and didn't have a way to sell, like it was just
Yeah,
brutal. So your point around having multiple channels, multiple options, because you don't know when an option is going to fail on
right.
you, then that's the way to go.
Well, I mean, if anything, and again, we've got a macro example now of what we've done as a country. We put all our eggs, and I
Yeah,
get it. Like, we're not stupid. We all get it. proximity is a big winning
Yeah,
factor.
for sure.
Yes, you got to play close to home. I get it. But what can we all see now how what clearly happens if we play everything close to home?
Yeah, yeah.
Because that's all this is showing us is that you all eggs in one basket, drop the basket, big trouble.
Yeah. Well, it's not only proximity. There are a whole bunch of other reasons why we did work in the U.S. So, first of all,
Totally.
we had a great, a trade agreement, originally a NAFTA and then
Yep.
CUSMA or USMCA. Um, we speak the same language. That's
Culturally,
helpful.
we're similar. It's
Yeah,
easier.
the currencies are kind of the same. Yes, we're off by
Absolutely.
30
Yep.
or 40 points, but you're not having to convert to yen or won or something like that.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Um, and then the structure is roughly the same. Like they have
Yep.
retailers, they have distributors, they have
Yep.
brokers. You kind of like when you talk to people and they say a term, you're like, okay, I get it. Like for example, when I go to Japan and they're like, well, you need a customs clearance agent as well as a distributor and multiple
Yep.
distributors and multiple layers
Yep.
of distributors before you get to the retailer. You're kind of like,
Yep.
oh boy,
What?
what's like, what is this, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
But
so
that's just the game
it's
they play, and that's you just learn the rules. Big deal, right?
right, yeah, yeah. So, but it's what I can say, having been to Food X once, so it's not like I've been there multiple times, is that there certainly is lots of interest for Canadian products, not just mine, but like there were 60 companies there. Some have been in Japan for decades, and a bunch were new like me, and I would say everybody was pretty positive about it. So we were well received and well hosted, and that's the other point I would make too is that everybody else's favorite punching bag is the government, and what do they do for businesses? But I'll tell you, Ag Canada and
Working
OMAFA,
hard.
they help out a lot,
Yeah, they're
right?
working
So
And they're
it's
hard.
working harder all the
Yeah.
time. They're
yeah,
trying. I know people don't see it unless you're in the industry, but don't
yeah,
knock what you don't know. There is an
yeah, yeah.
effort. It may not be perfect. We all appreciate that. We
I
know it's
get
going
it.
to take time. We get it.
Oh, but
But
they're
at
working
least they're
hard.
Right.
trying.
They're working
We're
hard.
Yeah.
trying.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
got to
These
just give it a chance now, right?
these agreements that our prime minister, these conversations in these various markets are super important, right? So like
100%.
my business in Korea was because of what happened with Stephen Harper and the free trade agreements that were laid out 15 years ago,
Absolutely.
right? And
Hmm.
so, the conversations we're having today with China and India and Indonesia and Europe, like those are all in Australia, those are all super important conversations to allow business guys like me to be able to go in and say,
Yeah.
okay, now, it sounds like government to government, we're having good conversations. Now let's see if I'm business to business, I can make sense
Yeah.
going in and talking with folks in Australia,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
these investments are
They're
nebulous
critical.
for Canadians, but boy,
Yeah.
they're super important for guys like me to know that I can go into a market. Like I happened to be there when Carney was there talking to Japan. It was just interesting being on the ground and talking to Japanese distributors and retailers and wholesalers.
Yeah.
Well, our prime minister was talking to their prime minister, right? So
Yeah. No, I
yeah,
think it's super cool. I
Yeah.
think as a country, we just need to get behind some of these things. It's easy to be the armchair quarterback and critique it, which
yeah,
we all do. I mean,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
human
yeah.
nature.
We all
But
do. Yeah,
I'd rather
yeah,
you step up and if you got a better idea, let's talk about it because we got to figure our shit out,
Well,
right?
I think I think that is the message, right? Is we've got to do, the time for talking is over and the time for coasting. We've
Let's
had
go.
yeah,
a good ride when
Yeah.
our guys in the south were really cooperative, but now we got to work at this, right? So
Yeah.
we love what you're doing. Like this is very, very
oh,
cool.
thank you.
No, I
Yeah,
think
Yeah,
so. I
yeah,
think it's super
yeah,
cool, man. Like super
yeah,
cool. And hopefully it inspires
yeah,
others to say, listen, you know what? It may not be sexy, whoever defines sexy. I
yeah.
like anything in food, and I love this condiment, by the way. So I'm good with this space. Kind of weird that we only have one guy. That part still baffles me. Got so much freaking land. You think we'd be doing? I mean, I guess it's not as huge a market in my head, but you know what
Yeah,
I mean? Like,
yeah.
okay, well, sure.
Yeah. I guess that's the other thing that because I do share my story from time to time. Like I went to school here in Southern Ontario and I get asked to
mm,
go back and talk about the story. I guess the other thing I would share to people too is that you don't have to go make the new Google. You don't have to make the new
No,
Uber. You don't have to make the
no.
next, Chat GPT. Like you can go take an existing product and
Right.
take it to market, right?
Just do
yeah,
it
Maybe in a
better,
different
maybe
way,
whatever that
or go
means.
buy an existing company
yeah,
Right.
or a broken down company and go at it,
Right.
right? And
Right.
a lot of people make the mistake, and I made that mistake when I finished my undergrad. I thought, geez, I better invent the next BlackBerry before I go down
Yes.
that path, and didn't recognize that being an entrepreneur is just as much about taking something that's already in place and doing a better job of it. So
I mean, I tell people this way too, Mark. You know what it is? Like, because they'll all do the same. If the Google and Chat GPTs are a different world. Uber's just a taxi, eh?
yeah,
They didn't
yeah,
reinvent the wheel. It's just a
yeah,
taxi. It's just not a
yeah.
taxi that we were normal, we used to. It's just a taxi,
That's a very good point. Very
right?
good point.
So
It's just
really, what
better.
did they do? They didn't reinvent the wheel. It's not rocket science. They put an app. They did made it a little bit easier for us to think, oh shit, that's how we should have had taxis.
Yeah,
Now the
yeah. You
taxis are
solve.
doing it too, so it's different. But you know what I mean? Like it's not. You don't have
Well,
to do anything
competition
that
is good,
big.
right? Because it
Yeah.
everybody improves their game when they have
Absolutely.
competition, right? So
It's all good
No,
and
not
bad.
everybody. Like Dennis Horseradish is the
yeah,
only one. So everybody, that applies to everybody else, but stay the fuck out of
yeah,
Yeah,
horseradish.
nobody. We don't need
yeah.
no
Exactly.
horseradish. We
No, you
just
don't
need
want to be in
one guy
horseback.
doing
It's
it.
hard. Oh yeah, it's
Just
stinky.
one guy.
Yeah, yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, no,
Oh man.
nobody's getting rich in horseradish, that's for sure. Not yet. So, yeah.
No,
Maybe one day.
we love what you're doing. This
That's
is
awesome,
this is
buddy.
amazing.
Yeah,
Well,
good
and
for
Um,
you.
I appreciate what you guys do as well too. I think
yeah.
a big part of what um, we need is just to get the word out to other Canadian entrepreneurs. I mean, my story is interesting, but not that important. It's more about telling other people so that they can take their own journey, right? And
Right.
hopefully they learn one thing from me, and that's what your platform does. Is
That's the
it
whole
gives
purpose of
people a
this.
chance to learn a little bit, and then they can hopefully,
Yeah.
whether it's in technology or
Right.
clean
Whatever.
energy
Anything.
or
Yeah.
Whatever.
whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like just
Yeah.
Yeah.
just hopefully we
And
need
we
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 need
fall into
more.
ag. We do like you. We like ag. So we like
Yeah,
things within the food space.
Yeah.
But what I do,
yeah,
even if people just walk out, I mean, look what you did. The business was there. It hadn't been up and running. It's nothing
yeah,
sexy per se. What again, however we define that. But you can make a successful go. You got people working for you. You're feeding families. People are
yeah,
paying taxes. You can put a hospital bed in a hospital because of the tax base. Like you got to start thinking things through, guys.
yeah,
Let's go. And we
Yeah.
got great
yeah,
Canadian stories. This is great. This is an awesome Canadian story.
yeah. Well, thank you.
We
Yeah,
love it. We
that's a
love
lot of
it.
fun.
Love it,
Thank
man.
you. Thank you for doing this.
Okay, go back
Yeah.
Well,
to
and
work and
thank
make
you
some money
guys.
though. Okay, stop talking. Go work.
Okay, thank you
Nope.
very much, guys. I really appreciate it,
Our pleasure,
and
man.
all the best.
Listen,
And
one
I'll be back in I'm back in Vancouver at the uh, GSF show. If you happen to be at that,
Oh
Oh
stop
yeah,
yeah,
by
we'll
there.
see you
Dennis will
there.
be
we'll
there, and
see
We'll
you
then
see
go
you
to the
there.
showcase.
So
yeah, stop by.
I'm actually here in Ontario. So if you ever have some, I'm
Oh,
based in Toronto and Kenny's based in
I'm in
Vancouver.
Vancouver.
oh,
But
okay.
if you ever have stuff, so I was going to say the last thing is if you ever have new news that you want to share, shoot us a note. We can film
Yeah,
something, throw it on YouTube so that people can
You
see
break
it
into
quick.
Japan or a cool
Um,
retailer or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
yeah,
Sure, let us know.
or if you ever want something filmed, because I am in Mississauga, so from me to
Oh, good. Yeah,
you is kind of
it's an
like an
hour.
hour's
It's nothing.
drive, I think a little bit,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it's
it's
a
very
nice
low.
ride.
Yeah,
So yeah,
Yeah, it'd be kind of cool. Maybe
awesome.
even
fantastic.
I'll do
Good.
when I come out there.
Well, fantastic. Well, let's stay in touch, guys, and I really appreciate everything
Okay,
for sure.
Our
all right.
pleasure,
Take care,
buddy.
Okay,
Mark.
Have a good day,
enjoy
bud.
Easter, everybody.
Thanks,
Okay,
man.
Thanks.
take care.
Happy
Happy
Easter.
Easter.
Bye bye.
That was
You can
cool.
say whatever you want. That's a freaking cool story.
He's
I just
cool,
think it's a cool
man.
story. I mean,
He's
I know it's
cool.
horseradish, but first of all, I do like horseradish, but I just think the story's
No, but
really
what do you
cool.
mean it's just horseradish? I don't think it's just horseradish. Like I think it's a thing.
Well,
I don't know.
everything
Like
is a
I know
dust,
what you
right?
I know what you mean, but I also think
Yeah.
that too.
I think it's
I
just
think it's a thing.
fantastic.
Like
I think it's
yeah,
fantastic. It's a neat
yeah,
little pocket. He's got a good
yeah,
thing
yeah,
going. Yeah, I mean, wow. Super
yeah.
cool.
I'm a fan.
Or
I'm a
super
fan.
hot, actually.
So yeah,
Not cool.
it's very cool. Okay. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening, everybody.